What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the workshop. I hope you're all keeping well. Now, I'm an absolute state because I've just got finished making this lovely Irish oak dough bowl. So that's what this video is going to be about. So it's a centerpiece for a dining room table. Kind of traditionally, these were dough bowls for making bread, I believe. So this is kind of a bowl slash platter. You can put candles and stuff like that in the middle of, or display fruit, bread, that kind of thing for your kitchen table. So I had a lovely piece of Irish oak in the workshop. So I've made this. This was actually a request for my mother. So this is going to my mother's house, and it went down quite a storm. So now I have to make one for the rest of the family as well. So a lot of carving, a lot of sanding, that's why I'm an absolute mess. So without further ado, let's jump in and we'll make a dough bowl. Okay, let's get cracking. I have a nice piece of oak that I've been saving, and this should be perfect. Okay, so I have a nice piece of Irish oak here. This is left over from a slab that I got to make my oak resin table, which is a build I've done a few years ago now, and that table is still looking quite nice inside in my sitting room. So this has been sitting in the workshop for a while. I've been kind of trying to come up with a project to use it for, and this should be perfect. So we're making a dough bowl. It's going to be a decorative dough bowl. It's not going to be a functioning dough bowl. I don't know a whole lot about dough bowls other than that they were used for kneading dough and making bread. I think it's more of an American thing, really, an old kind of traditional way of just kneading dough. But they've become very decorative. You see them all over the places now. People put them on their tables, they put stuff in them, and they come like little display bowls for all the world. So, nice piece of Irish oak. We're going to try and make it out of this. Now, it's cupped, so as you can see, so it kind of lends itself to being dished out this way. It doesn't have to be perfectly square or anything like that. We're going to try and keep two nice straight edges with curved ends. It's supposed to have a kind of a handmade, hand-carved kind of feel. So yeah, let's get cracking. We'll get it marked out. We'll get it cut to our general shape. We have a bit of planing to do because this is not going to go through my planer thickness, or it's going to be too wide. I have some rough dimensions, which I'll show you now. So without further ado, let's get it marked out and let's get cracking. Okay, I have it marked out. The camera decided to wander off while I was marking it out there, but just to talk you guys through it, it's going to be as close as I can get it to 300 millimeters wide. Now, I'm not going to quite make it because of obviously the shape of the board, but we have almost 300 millimeters, and I've decided to lengthen it a bit more. So the original drawing, when I marked it out on the table, it was going to be 700 long, but because it's so wide, I think it could be benefit from being just a little bit longer. So it's around 870 mil in length, just because we have to put a curved end on it, and I think the little bit of length will help elongate the design and make it not look so kind of, you know, thick this way. So that should help. So we have to get this cut out now, and it's probably too big for all my machines. So we might just chop off the end with the track saw, and we'll bandsaw off the sides, and then it's going to be a lot of hand work after that because, like I said, it's too thick for most of my machines to plane this up. So we'll have to do it by hand. Right, so I've cut off both ends. It's a bit more manageable now, but as you can see, it's still very cupped and it is rocking, so it's not going to be very safe to pass this over the bandsaw or over any other machine. So we need to get a flat base on this now just to stop it rocking, and it's going to be too big to fit over my planer, so it's going to have to be done by hand. It's a bit of hand planing. Let's flatten this base. It'll give us a nice reference base to work off then, and then we can cut down either side. Okay, if I use my plane stop with a couple of bench dogs, it should hold this thing from, that should keep us fairly secure. So yeah, bit of elbow grease. Okay, so after a little bit of planing, I've given myself a flat base. Now if I push this way, it still rocks, but if I push this way, it's solid and it doesn't go anywhere. So that allowed me to push it through the bandsaw now by keeping pressure on this side. I don't have to worry about it rocking back and forth and getting caught up on the blade. So as long as I keep pressure there, we're good to go. So I'm going to just take off this edge and then this edge, then we can start squaring everything up. Okay guys, just explain where we are. So what you saw me do was flatten the bottom of this, then establish a right angle straight edge, and then use that as a reference for the fence on my table saw to give me a perfectly parallel edge on this side. That gives me two edges that are perfectly square to the base and a relatively flat base, just to give me a kind of a plane to work from. This is still very dished up on top, of course. Now I've just marked it out. You can see I have just put two circles on the end here, just using a compass. So we're going to cut off these two pieces. A lot of hand carving from here, so a lot of plain work, a lot of hand carving. And again, we're not looking for 100% accuracy in our shapes here. We want to give it a kind of a hand carved feel. But I do just want to keep a kind of a reference face, just to make it easier to work off. You can see I've marked the ends here. We'll have a nice curve up. So again, we'll be hand carving all this, planing it and hand carving it to get down to that nice curve. And they don't have to be perfect because again, we want a kind of a hand carved feel. So next thing I want to do is just go to the bandsaw, take off these two edges. We want to plane then these two edges nice and flat, try and just establish a plane across here. And then we have to dish out this. Now I might route it out, I might carve it out. We'll see, we'll make a decision in a few minutes. But first thing to do is take these corners off. Okay guys, here's where we're at. I've taken off the edges, so we have our round edges on. I just marked up what I want to do here. So this inner kind of circle here and these straight lines, that's going to be the bottom of the bowl. I want that to be flat for standing candlesticks and stuff on. So again, it's not a functioning dough bowl, it's a decorative dough bowl. So we want a flat base in it, just for standing candles, that kind of thing in. This is kind of this outer circle here then, and this outer line is kind of where I want the thickness of the edge of the bowl to be. That might vary, it doesn't have to be exact. Again, it's going to be carved and it's going to be curved down to the bottom all the way around. So that's kind of what we want to achieve. Now we have a couple of options here. I have to hog out this material and I want to get it as flat as possible at the bottom. Now because this top is slightly dished, using a router might be an issue because obviously the router is going to follow this, so it's not perfectly flat. So I might try and rig something up to keep the router running perfectly flat across these two flat surfaces. I can use these as my reference, and that way I should be able to get a depth there. Either that or hog it out with a Forstner bit. I haven't really decided yet, but we have a bit of carving to do first anyway. So that's the top. So we'll be dishing this out. We have to remove all that material. On the bottom then, again, I've just marked it. Hopefully you guys can see this. You should be able to see the pencil lines. So you can see this line here and this line here. I want to carve that now down to my edge here. So I'm going to hand carve this. You can see I have a circle drawn here again, just with a compass from the center line, and just pulled a circle there just to give me a rough something to work to. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to carve that all the way around. Now, Japanese saw rasp, a lot of hand carving I think I'm going to do here. I could use a grinder, but it's very, very dusty. It'll destroy the whole workshop. I'll probably have to use a grinder to get the curved edges around here with a flapper disc. But when we get to doing this, I'll show you what I'm going to do anyway, what I've decided. So for now, I'm going to do a lot of elbow grease and start carving this down with Japanese saw rasp. And yeah, we'll see how we go. Okay guys, so what I'm actually doing is using the hand plane to take down this edge and to round it over. It's actually a lot quicker than the saw rasp. I'll use the saw rasp just to finish it off. But it's easy to put a rounded edge on something with a hand plane. You just roll the plane over. And you can just follow your curve. And you can work it down. So I have it set to take a relatively heavy cut. And I'm just rolling the plane over the edge and putting that curve into it. Now, a draw knife would be actually quite handy here to hog off a lot of this material. So I must actually get myself a draw knife and add it to the tool connection for some hand carving. That's actually turned out quite nice there now. So I'm going to keep going with this. I'm going to plane it this way, then I'll clamp it to the side of the table. I'll show you that, and I'll work it back from the other side then just to make it easier to work on. But it's just a lot of elbow grease, a lot of carving now to get this all the way around. So I'm going to crack on and do that, and the various techniques around the way I shall show you. Okay guys, I just clamped it on edge just to make it a bit easier to work with, and I can work back from this edge and down. But you can really put a curve in a piece of wood quite quickly with a hand plane. Nice sharp blade, heavy cut, and just work it around. Now I have grain running in two different directions here, so I'm getting a bit of tear out. So that's kind of hindering me a small bit, but we'll be able to work that back in. And we're just going to keep it eyeball it. That's all we're going to do, just eyeball this curve the whole way down. Look down along it. When it looks kind of good to the eye, then it is good. Again, hand carved feel we're going for. We're not looking for perfection here. And often that kind of imperfect hand carved aesthetic can look quite good. Actually, I quite like it. So yeah, I'll crack on now, do this to both sides, and when it comes to rounding off the edge, I'll show you that as well, and we'll match that curve in the whole way around just by eyeballing it. Now just on this bit here, I'm getting quite a lot of tear out right in this section. I have grain converging from all different directions, and no matter which way I go with the hand plane, I'm getting tear out. That's why something like the Shinto rasp is a great tool as well. It does hog off material quite quickly, and we don't have to worry about grain direction. So just with a few strokes, I can begin to work out that tear out. And we can start to work our curve around our bend. Fantastic tool. I know I've mentioned this multiple times on my channel, but they're nice and cheap, a Shinto Japanese saw rasp, and they're fantastic for carving. Rough side, and then you have a smoother side, which will give you a slightly nicer finish, kind of prepare just for a sanding finish. So the smooth side, that's ready for sanding with a few strokes from that. So yeah, like I said, I'll crack on now and get this curved, work down both sides, and we'll work it around the back edge, and I'll show you that. Right guys, I'm making my way around the end of the bowl. I already have this end done, and I have my curve kind of matched all the way around. So nice and simple. It is working end grain, so it's taking a little bit more elbow grease. It's always harder kind of plain end grain than it is side grain or face grain. But again, the saw rasp, so I'm just using the saw rasp, the rough side, just to kind of hog off as much material as I can. Again, trying to match that curve the whole way around. And then it's a case of come around with the spoke shave, smooth it all out, and work the curve around. So that's the technique I'm using to do this. and you can see it's removing material quite quickly. There's a little bit of work in it, a bit of elbow grease, but I'll crack on now and I'm going to match this all the way around and I'll show you the curve when it's done. But yeah, the base is almost done there. So yeah, it's looking quite good. Like I said, I'll crack on, a bit of elbow grease now and we'll get this sorted. Okay guys, we're looking pretty good there now, so I'm kind of happy with the curve I have in that. If I need to take a bit more, I might, but I think I'm kind of good and happy where we're at the minute. So we have a nice curve all the way around. Now, I want to start hogging out material in the center of the bowl. And what I think I'm going to actually do is use one of these flapper discs. So let's get you in for a closer look at one of these. I've just tested it out and it is removing material quite quickly. So I think dishing out this bowl, hand carving it, is going to be the way to go rather than using the router. And maybe we can run a plane in the base of it just to flatten it out a small bit. But I should be able to do most of the work with this. So let's jump in and we'll start dishing this out. Okay, so I've just done a test carve there, and like I said, it was removing material quite quickly. So I'm going to use a flapper disc and I'm going to work to this line now all the way around. We're going to dish it out so it kind of curve into the bottom of the bowl the whole way around. It'll be hand carved, so it doesn't have to be perfect, like I said. And this is what we're going to be using. So these are flapper discs, so just layered sandpaper discs. This is a 40 grit one. They come in all different grits and sizes, and they do hog out material pretty quickly. Now the downside obviously is lots of noise, lots of dust, which is why I don't like using routers and grinders. I prefer doing things by hand, but we're going to take this outside. It's a nice sunny day and we'll do it outside. I don't recommend doing this in your workshop unless you have really good dust extraction, because you will destroy the place. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. Just give you a quick look at the bowl this way around, so you can see we have a nice curve all the way around. I might even put in 2 little hand holes on the bottom for picking it up, although it is a centerpiece. It's not designed to be a functioning dough bowl, but it's still supposed to be a dough bowl. But it's more of a decorative dough bowl centerpiece for a table. So let's get set up outside. Let's get carving this out now. And yeah, we're nearly there now, not too far away. Get it nicely carved up, get it all sanded up. We'll get some finish on it and we'll see how it's looking. Okay, we're set up outside, so it's just a case of lots of noise, lots of dust, and yeah, let's just get carving. Okay guys, there we go. The bowl is dished out. Now I'm not going to pretend and lie to you, that was not a pleasant experience. It was a couple hours work in doing that with these flapper discs, and I had to switch from the battery grinder to the mains powered grinder just because the batteries couldn't keep up with the work. I also pulled the guard off it because with the guard on you can't use the full amount of the flapper disc. So if you're doing that, just be very, very careful. Obviously, there's nothing to protect your hands now or anything flying off that disc. So just be very, very careful if you're doing that. But it's dished out, and I have a consistent depth more or less all the way across. So I'm gone down 24 millimeters or just about an inch. down into the bowl, which is as far as I want to go. So now it's a case of more stuff that I hate doing, and that is sanding. So I gotta get this whole thing sanded up now, and then we're going to get a finish on it. But we're nearly there now. After all our carving is done, and it's looking quite good. So let's get it sanded up, and let's get some finish on it. Okay guys, there we go, all sanded up, and it's sanded to 240 grit, and the grain in that is looking quite nice indeed. So a beautiful piece of Irish oak. So we're going to get a finish on it now, and I'm just going to use some of this chestnut food safe finish. There's technically never going to be any food in this. There might be at some point, but it's going to be a centerpiece for a table, for candles and that kind of thing. So it's more decorative than functional, but just in case it ever has to display any food or anything like that, we'll use the food safe finish just to be on the safe side. And yeah, I'll get you in for a closer look. Let's get some finish on this. Okay, as always, the best part of every job is putting the finish on, and just to see that grain come out. So let's get a little bit of this in. Absolutely lovely. Going to make a really nice centerpiece on a kitchen table, or on the dining room table I should say. But yeah, that looks quite good indeed. Absolutely lovely. Now I'm going to get a couple of coats on this, let this one dry, kind of wipe off the excess, and get a few coats into it, and then when it's all done we'll jump back in. But it's looking absolutely stunning there now. Okay guys, there we go. One Irish oak dough bowl all finished up. So a nice kind of bowl slash platter. It's going to be a nice centerpiece for a kitchen table. Relatively simple project. There's not much to it, just a lot of elbow grease really in this, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're not looking to make this perfect. A rustic look is what you're going for, so a handmade, hand feel look. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that one guys. Hopefully it gives you some inspiration. After all, that's the point of these videos, is to inspire you guys to go out and make something for yourself. There really is not that much to it at the end of the day. So hopefully you've enjoyed it guys. If you have, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, as always, think about subscribing. Comments and questions below. I always try to reply to as many as I can. So that's it guys, I'm going to get out of here now until the next project. I'll have to go tidy myself up a bit now. I'm an absolute state. So I'll see you in the next one guys. Take it easy.